The courtroom was buzzing with tension, the kind that clings to the air and makes every breath feel heavy. People whispered quietly among themselves as the decorated soldier stood in the witness box. His uniform was pressed to perfection, his white gloves immaculate, his chest gleaming with the medal he had earned after years of relentless service at the tomb of the unknown soldier. But sitting high on the bench, the judge smirked, leaning back with an expression of arrogance that made even the spectators uneasy. "This medal you wear so proudly," the judge said slowly, his voice slicing through the silence like a blade, "is nothing more than a shiny piece of metal. It doesn't make you a hero in my courtroom." A gasp rippled through the room. The soldier's jaw tightened, his posture unshaken, his eyes burning with the kind of discipline that could not be broken. Every second felt longer than the last, the walls of the courtroom suddenly too small to contain the clash of pride and power unfolding within it. No one had ever dared to mock a tomb guard before, and the insult hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot, stinging everyone who had the honor of understanding what that medal truly meant. The soldier remained silent, as trained, but deep inside, his memories flooded back. He remembered the endless nights of standing guard, the rain pounding against his shoulders, the bitter cold cutting through his bones, the sun scorching his back. He remembered the vow he had taken to honor the fallen, those who had no names but carried the weight of every sacrifice made for the country. The judge's insult wasn't just a personal attack, it was an attack on every soldier who had ever stood before the tomb, guarding it with unwavering loyalty. People in the courtroom shifted uncomfortably, sensing something far bigger than a simple trial was unfolding. The soldier's attorney tried to speak, to object, but the judge waved him off like he was swatting at a fly. "This isn't a parade ground," the judge continued coldly. "Your fancy medals won't get you any special treatment here." But little did he know, the courtroom had eyes on it now. High-ranking officers had been informed. Among them, someone who knew exactly what that medal symbolized, and they were already on their way. A young woman in the audience clenched her fists, tears welling in her eyes. Her brother had been one of the unknown soldiers, buried without a name but honored forever. She couldn't bear hearing those words. The guard finally raised his head, his voice steady, calm, but sharp as steel. "With respect, Your Honor," he said, "this medal isn't about special treatment. It's about the promise I made to men who can't speak for themselves anymore. I stood in the rain for hours so their silence would never be forgotten." The room fell into silence, even the judge's smug expression faltered for a second. But pride, especially in the wrong hands, is stubborn. He leaned forward, mocking. "Touching speech," he sneered, "but in this courtroom, your little traditions mean nothing." The guard didn't flinch. He didn't need to defend himself to someone who couldn't understand. But before the judge could open his mouth again, the heavy wooden doors of the courtroom creaked open slowly. The sound of polished boots echoed against the marble floor like distant thunder approaching. Every head turned toward the doors. A tall figure in a sharply pressed uniform stepped in, his chest weighed down with stars, ribbons, and authority that silenced the entire room instantly. It was a 4-star general, a man whose presence alone made seasoned soldiers stand straighter. The bailiff stammered, unsure whether to speak. The general walked forward, his eyes locked on the judge, his jaw set with unshakable purpose. "Your Honor," he said in a voice that carried the weight of countless commands, "I heard there was a comment made about a tomb guard's medal in this courtroom." The judge shifted uncomfortably for the first time. The general turned to the soldier, then back to the judge. "That medal represents a level of discipline and sacrifice you cannot begin to comprehend. Only a handful of men and women in history have earned the right to wear it. When you insult it, you insult every fallen hero who lies in silence beneath that tomb." The room was silent, but the weight of those words felt like a strike of thunder that no one could ignore. The judge opened his mouth, perhaps to defend his words, but no sound came out. The general took a step closer, his voice low but shaking the very air around him. 2 minutes ago, you mocked something sacred," he said. "Now you'll show it the respect it deserves." Then, turning toward the soldier, the general raised his hand in a crisp salute, a salute that carried decades of service, pain, and honor. The soldier returned the salute, his eyes steady, his chest proud. The entire courtroom, from the spectators to the attorneys, stood in silence as the weight of true respect filled the air. Even the judge, humbled, finally lowered his gaze. The soldier did not need to speak further, his silence now thundered louder than the judge's mockery. And in that moment, the medal shone brighter, not because it was gold or silver, but because it represented something untouchable: sacrifice, honor, and the promise that some will always stand for those who cannot.